love, responsibility, death, peace, trauma, war, guilt, truth, right and wrong, or in short, Norn9. In the Taisho era 1919, 11 chosen people with magical psychedelic abilities are sent on a quest on the ship Norn, following the instructions of the World Organization to bring peace to the world. As the last chosen girl enters the ship, they notice something strange. On the ship Norn are rooms for 9 people, the 9 chosen ones. So why are there 2 people more? And is even one of them the traitor attacking the ship and endangering the mission? But as the World Organization no one can defy, imposed the rule on everyone not to talk about their abilities nor their past, it's hard to find the culprit and traitor. Thus they decide to split up in pairs to watch over each other's every step. This game has 3 heroines with 3 respective allies. I'll introduce them in the order I played and which I found enjoyable. The first heroine is Koharu. Koharu is sweet and naive due to the fact that she lived alone for such a long time, she can't even remember her name. She lived so secluded, a lot of social norms are unknown to her, and she has the habit of carrying around a little notebook to write down words or customs she learns. And this naiveness is greatly exploited by Kakeru, who is in general a nice guy, but also enjoys teasing others playfully. He is one of the few people who doesn't hide his ability to grow plants, and thus teaches Koharu things like growing a plant. And it was a joy to see them grow closer while he helps Koharu learn more about the world. But sometimes Koharu cannot help but think that behind this friendly smile is a dark secret. I especially loved Koharu's character development in this route. You can clearly see how she gradually grows more accustomed to the world. But on the other hand, their love development was a bit quick, which made sense considering the plot, and it still led me to liking Kakeru, but I didn't have time enough to really fall in love with him. Though his voice actor alone would be reason to buy the game, as he also voiced Hayato in Nil Admirari no Tenbin or Sosuke in Club. Next I played Senri, the shy and gloomy bird who is convinced the world will harm him and hides in his room 24/7, not speaking to anyone, until Kakeru kicks in his door. Now it's up to Koharu to take care of him and remind him how good it can feel to have a friend. As you might expect in this route, Senri is the focus of the route coming out of his shell. And gosh, is he sweet! Shy and gloomy characters aren't really what gets me excited about a game, but especially together with his voice actor who also voiced Nayuta in Variable Barricade, I couldn't help but love this shy little boy. And nothing made me happier than finally see him smile. Their love development was extremely sweet as both are shy and naive and need to figure out their relationship until the plot tries to tear them apart. Masamune gets unlocked when you play either of the previous 2 characters. Masamune is the big brother who watches over the whole bunch and is the only one in direct contact to the World Organization, thus can be kind of considered the leader of the party. So of course he also wants the sweet, shy and weak Koharu to rely on him. But she then notices that Masamune would have nobody to take care of him and takes it upon herself to be a pillar of support to him. But not only is he reluctant to rely on her, even less does he want to fall in love, and is the most loyal to the World Organization. I think I loved their dynamic the most, Koharu being more proactive and trying to take care of this big brother. And probably to the surprise of many, he will earn my most sexy award. Because as much as he doesn't want to fall in love, he just cannot help himself. And his gentle big brother character is perfectly conveyed by his voice actor who also voiced Kirei in Jaco no Laila, with his deep, soothing voice. Then I played Nanami's harem. Nanami is stoic, cool-headed, expressionless, speaks in a monotonous voice, and you can't really tell what she is thinking. She is deeply traumatized by how she was made to use her powers in the past, and thus never speaks about them. But for all that matters, she can nonchalantly speak her mind and act how she sees fit, not much swayed by the opinions of others. Nanami and Heishi have been friends for a long time already. He is a bright and honest character who doesn't expect anything evil. Though he knows there's a traitor on the ship, he cannot doubt a single comrade. As they have a bit of a past together, the game was kind of lazy to explain why they fall in love and just assumed it, but that impression might also be due to the fact that I have a hard time relating to these Genki characters with the loud voices. But you might recognize Heishi's voice actor from Hakuoki's Heisuke or Busterful Helvetica. Not my type of loud voice. They annoy me, and so did Heishi. Sorry. He's just too naive in this world. Him not believing there is a traitor, though there definitely is just one example of how simple his mind is. So the root overall, the love development as well as the solution they find at the end in terms of the plot, felt way too simple for me. On the other hand, the character I probably enjoyed the most was Akito, the always angry and bad-mouthed tsundere, who would never admit he is growing to like the other members or cooks them a delicious porridge, worrying about them when they fall ill. With him as well, Nanami has a mysterious past, but not a happy one. In short, they hate each other to death. Thank God Kakeru bullies them in being together 24/7. So they have a chance to make up and face the spirits of the past. And how much I love this route. Of course I love discovering what happened in the past and why they hate each other so much. But even more I loved their character development. Their love development is so tender and gentle, like a snowflake that crumbles upon your touch. Their story is so full of emotions and hardships. I almost couldn't take it. You also learn so much about Nanami and how she became the way she is today. And if that doesn't make your heart melt. In short, this route made Nanami and Akito my favorite characters. And Akito's voice acting was similar to another favorite role of mine, being Tora in Clock Zero. And you might know him from Tyrell in Even If Tempest, or now in Yunohana Spring. And I love it so much when he voices these rough characters. Ron, just like Masamune, unlocks after you've played one of the other of Nanami's boys. And Ron is a really special fellow. You don't see him much in the other routes, as he's generally uninterested in mingling with the others, let alone their mission. So much so, he can't even remember a single name of the group, and even falls asleep in the meetings, and generally, sleeping is probably his favorite hobby. When asked about himself though, he is very roundabout and obviously clumsy in social interactions. He thinks being mean is the same as loving someone, and has quite a playful nature. I was very surprised to hear Kuroba from Olympia Soiree as Ron, but definitely can see a likeness in their playful way of speaking, though he's still my favorite as Shion in Clap. I think Ron is quite an entertaining character. His bad habit of forgetting names is honestly relatable. And him not caring about anything and always brushing things off made me laugh and at the same time shake my head at this useless fellow. And he doesn't always seem to want the best for her and her friends. I've heard this route is controversial, but I don't quite get why. I mean, there's this scene, but other than that, I think it's nice to have an unhinged character like Ron, who challenges your worldview and gives you some quite tough moral questions. At the same time, I wish we would have learned more about him and his past, like with the other characters, to understand his actions better. But as of now, not having played the FD yet, you're stuck with just having to accept his character as he is, and won't hear a good reason for his behavior. That is probably why he's sometimes compared to Young, but like a girl in the Discord put it, it's more like a cheap, shallow version of Young. So you can expect some craziness, but it's not gonna be as fleshed out and interesting as Young. I mean, who is? Still, his tragic end might become one of my favorite bad endings actually, because I was so frightened seeing that CG and it was just scary. Lastly, I played Mikoto, who is like the strong, proud Ojo-sama princess, raised in a good family, always with the awareness of having the ability of the barrier, of warding off attacks and protecting everyone. Raised with this heavy responsibility, she's extremely diligent and wants to do all the work herself. She's stubborn and doesn't want to rely on others, as she feels protecting is her responsibility alone. Gladly, she has her good childhood friend Sakuya, who is soft, gentle, and cares for her more than anything in the world. He never gets angry, unless it's about protecting Mikoto, especially from all the boys she now is surrounded with. But being close now on the ship, it's hard for them to define their relationship, seemingly having grown apart while still treasuring each other. Sakuya is always worried about Mikoto, but still insists that he's not a nice guy. To me, their childhood friend love story felt a bit cliched and didn't bring anything new to the table, though this is probably unfair to say, as the game was initially released 2013. So in general, it's a sweet childhood friend love story that just maybe didn't age well, but nevertheless you will probably rarely find a character who is that much devoted to the heroine. Something about Sakuya's voice actor might make you enjoy him a bit less, so skip if you are sensitive to voice actor spoilers, if that's the thing. For me it is, but it didn't bother me at all personally. It's a voice actress, but no matter how hard I tried to hear it, I just couldn't make it out. That woman is immensely talented and does a better job voicing a man than some men. So even though Sakuya still felt manly to me. The other love rival of Sakuya is Itsuki. A flirt, what can I say? He probably means no harm, but still his route starts with flirty behavior and lies. And I can't deal with lies, as I can never tell when suddenly the lie becomes truth, and thus the whole love development just doesn't feel genuine to me. But on the other hand, he also tries to protect Mikoto in his way, by trying to lift her burden and reminding her that she is more than the girl of the barrier. I can't say much about his route, as it felt a lot shorter to me than the others, and I couldn't get over his initial deceptiveness, and would even say he's a rather manipulative character. And I also enjoyed his voice actor better in Akana Familia's Jolly, or you might know him from Hakuoki Sanosuke. The route everyone says you should play last is Natsuhiko's route. He is not part of the chosen people of the ship, quite the contrary, and Mikoto really has a hard time at the beginning. But as you could expect, at some point he starts to take a liking to her, and his cold heart doesn't seem as cold anymore. His harsh voice also voices Ryoma in Hakuoki or Hades in Kamigami no Asobi. I think his route is the most action-packed, while at the same time telling a tender love story from enemies to lovers. And there would be no better opponent than the high-handed Mikoto. But then the route takes a sudden turn and the whole tension that was built up is destroyed, which I find very regrettable. But nevertheless, I like their chemistry a lot. Though I would have expected slightly more tension and more revelations, but it was still interesting to see how these different mindsets clash, and to wonder for yourself whose reasoning you would be following. The game is in a sci-fi setting, but nonetheless character-driven. At least the first half of each route is about getting to know the character, their past, and sometimes healing their trauma. And the second half, or last third, is about the plot revelations. And I say plot revelations, not really plot. Except for Natsuhiko's route, it isn't really much happening in the routes, but it's more about finding out about the mission bit by bit with every route you play. And these revelations are immensely well done in my opinion. In most of the routes you learn tiny new bits. Of course there are less spoilery routes which the game recommends to play first, like Senri, Heishi and Sakuya, but still every route got their fair share of revelations, and I think the locked character is mainly due to the character revelations but not really due to the plot revelations. And the game even made you puzzle together all the clues you collected in the last route. And despite what other reviewers said, it made perfect sense to me. And with the game being more character driven, I was also fully satisfied with the romance level, which sometimes was more than kissing. What wasn't always fully satisfying on the other hand were the endings, which partly were slightly open-ended or bittersweet, as you couldn't find a solution to all the problems. Turns out, world peace is a difficult task to achieve. The bad endings are also really bad and twisted, and I enjoyed them though they were short. Speaking of short, with the 9 LIs, each character route is rather short, with about 4 to 5 hours, and the common route was only about 1 hour. So also an extremely short common route, once in a while. But nonetheless, the routes didn't feel rushed to me, as we are together on the ship, and the task to watch over each other as a pair forces you to be together constantly. So though the story unravels over a short period of time, you still stick together all the time, which makes for a lot of chances to talk and get to know each other on a deeper level, which made me enjoy most of the love stories, and I don't even think they are much inferior to longer routes. And that might also be due to the clever writing. Being so short, the game obviously is not wordy, but chooses a very concise style that yet doesn't miss beautiful metaphors and simple yet beautiful descriptions of the characters, their development and feelings. It's not Shakespeare, but it's beautiful in its simplicity and I highly appreciate it. Having 3 voiced heroines is not only fun, but the writers also managed to have a little focus on their friendship, and seeing the other girls in the other routes made you cheer for the couples of the other heroines. You could even find some parallel development between the different routes, and that just made the characters so much more dynamic and realistic, though that of course also comes with the drawback of some repeated scenes and also repeated revelations, some of which you could skip and some of them not. But with so many LIs, I'm sure you'll find your favorite character trope, or end up loving practically everyone like me. Also, there are some remarkable system mechanics. I know I never talk about that, but now I do. You sometimes have time choices out of nowhere, and of course you have a love catch system indicating whether you made the right choice to increase the LI's affection. But with a twist, you only see the love catch animation once the consequence of your choice reaches the LI. I always wondered in other otome games, like how would I'm thinking could increase the LI's affection, and settled on, well, guess what I think forms my character, and then the LI falls in love with my character. But in Norn, I don't need to find such a creative explanation, as the LI only likes you better once the consequence of your action reaches him, which can be several scenes later. And I really love this touch. And there even was a route where being mean to the LI increased his affection, and that was just a dream come true for me. And what I loved even more, yes, there's more, this is gonna be a long review, was that not always raising your LI's affection would bring you to the good end. Sometimes you'd rather think about your actions yourself instead of just thinking about pleasing the LI. And I think that was one of the few games I played lately where you not only have dialogue choices, but immensely meaningful choices which will change the course of the story, and which gave you so tough moral problems. Norn is a game that poses a lot of moral questions about right and wrong, responsibility, what is mankind? Like many games, it doesn't give a clear answer, but lets you explore different perspectives with each LI you play. But the final decision is left to the player, how you want the world to be. Where do I start? Let's start with the 3 voiced heroines, which posed some serious identity problems for me as someone who self-inserts. Like, who am I? What is my past? Which is my voice? But apart from that, they all did a great job. Koharu sounds like a baby bird, just like her character. How Nanami says kocho kocho cracks me up every time. Kocho 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 kocho. And Mikoto sounds like a proud princess. Every voice actor did a great job bringing the characters alive. And because every character was voiced now, it felt a bit like an anime. Though Senri and Akito especially stood out to me. The music was amazing. They perfectly combined techno beats with stringed instruments on top to give the soundtrack a sci-fi feeling, but we're still in the Taisho era, so it still wasn't too futuristic. Also, I think it's one of the few otome games with really epic titles. I've rarely heard such adventurous music that hypes me up for every scene and makes everything feel even more epic and special, fitting for a game which is about saving the world. The CGs are pretty, they are simple but beautiful, and often in shades of blue and pink, mostly romantic or epic like the music. But sadly, you only see them for a few sentences until you move on to the next scene due to the quick pace of the story, which is such a shame. But beyond the CGs, you also have pretty animations for their powers, which make the game even more lively. I'd rank the game on a lower intermediate level. Though it still has a lot of technical vocabulary, there's also a lot of everyday talk. But due to the voiced heroines, I think it's a very good learning experience, and they also repeat the important vocabulary a lot. And I also have another video introducing some more games with voiced heroines. Though some characters and explanations would have needed to be a bit more fleshed out, I hope the FD will do so. And thus this is the first game I'm really excited about the FD. I of course will also make a video about once I finished it. So subscribe not to miss it, or go totally crazy like my members and Patreons, who hugely help me out with their support so that I can continue making these videos. And they get early access, language content, and discount in my merch in return. Overall, I think Norn is for people who enjoy sci-fi stories, world building and character-driven games. Be prepared to take notes, or be on your toes if you want to understand the whole truth, because the game doesn't waste time with explaining everything to you. You have to think for yourself. To my very surprise, though the character routes were short, they managed to tell relatable love stories and even a little plot without feeling rushed. And I ended up liking almost every character and feeling attracted to almost all of them. And even thinking the more I look at them that they kind of send sexy vibes to me. And on top of that, the game also manages to pose some moral questions, so that it becomes a game of a rather epic scope. But it's unique in its concise storytelling and is certainly simple but beautiful, and will make you question how you want the world to be. And by that reminding me a bit of Clock Zero, in which it's also a bit about saving the world and how far you would go to do so.